This program deals with themes of an adult nature and is intended for a mature audience.
The KTPF Community Talk Show is sponsored by Cregennos Castle, South Wales, one of the most haunted castles in Wales. For more information on ghostly and ghastly events, including fright nights, all-night investigations and hen parties, visit www.mosthauntedcastle.com.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
They've landed.
You're in the right place. Online, on the web, and on air. All over the world.
Talk radio.
You hear us, we hear you.
Yeah, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show. I hope you're feeling okay this Sunday evening, and you've had a good week. A little bit better than what we've had.
Well, the week hasn't been bad. We have a little bit tired. We were actually on an invest last night. So
Yeah, so as I say, welcome to the show.
we're down there in Wales.
My name's Suzanne,
And I'm Steve.
and you're on the KTPF Community Talk Show, recommended by Phenomena Magazine, the UK's leading online publication. And tonight we're going to be talking to Adam Davies, who is a cryptozoologist, local one to us actually. He'll be coming on about 8:30. Just a word of warning, the internet has been really bad this past week. I don't know what's going on, and certain sites have been having problems. Also, there has been problems with flash players or something or other. So if we do go off, please bear with us, and we will come back. So as I say, I don't know what's going on at the moment. Something is amiss. Even some people in the chat room, I think, have been having problems with certain websites and stuff. Well, as I say, we are the KTPF, which stands for Keeping the Paranormal Friendly. Started in 2007, and our mission is to bring the paranormal world together. And it doesn't just mean the paranormal world as in people that are in it, like specialists and what have you. We're on about the normal Joe public as well. And we like to cover a variety of topics, including cryptozoology and 2 UFOs, which whereas we would like you to get involved and ask questions too. Okay, and it's most importantly we are looking at bringing friendship to the paranormal community. Remember, collaboration, not competition. You'll have to bear with me tonight. I am actually in pain.
Yeah, you're a bit worse for wear, aren't you?
I am, to be honest with you. So, just a couple of things to let you know about what's going to happen tonight. We're going to have the observations as normal, and then we'll be talking to Adam roughly about 8:30, which is the normal time. After that, we will be doing obviously the events as usual coming up for this month, and then we're going to be talking about what happened last night as well. So let you know where we was last night and what we thought of the place, and etc. etc. So stay with us for that. We had a few things that sort of went off last night.
And also, hopefully, our friend Dave Tate will be getting...
Yes, we're supposed to be having Dave Tate with us tonight from Stalybridge Town.
Having a few tyre problems.
Yeah, if he can't get to us in the meantime, he's going to join us on Skype. So we look forward, hopefully, to speaking to him then. So until then, I'm going to hand you over to Steve for the observations.
Here we go. There'll be your first link. And here we go. Stonehenge was actually part of a huge ancient complex researchers discover. Burial mounds, sun-aligned pits, and ancient delights galore. For a disenchanted visitor to Stonehenge in the south of England, the iconic array of 4,000-year-old pillars may have signified little more than a pile of rocks. But a new discovery that Stonehenge was actually the heart of a huge complex of ancient burial mounds, put my teeth back in, shrines, could win even the most cynical observer.
Get your teeth going.
I got to do something, haven't I? Teeth going. Researchers at the University of Birmingham have found a host of previously unknown monuments, including ritual structures and massive timber buildings that was likely used for burial of the dead during a complicated sequence of exposure to defleshing. Why would they deflesh somebody? I don't know.
I don't know.
New monuments have been revealed, as well as new types of monuments that have previously never been seen by archaeologists. Professor Vincent Gaffney, the project leader, said in a statement Wednesday, Stonehenge may never be the same again. The project which made us use of remote sensing techniques and geophysical surveys discovered large prehistoric pits, some of which are aligned with the sun, and new information on Bronze Age, Iron Age, Roman settlements, and fields. Who's that? And okay, our next one, and hopefully,
There's been a program on Stonehenge recently. There's another program on this week, part 2 of it.
So, are they saying about what I've just read out?
Something about underground, something to do with the underground. So sorry, I was trying to deal with Twitter at the same time. So
that's okay.
but yeah, I don't know whether anyone's seen it. But secrets that revealed of an underground map in Stonehenge, and
cool.
Basically they're saying that there's the maps ever produced of the Earth beneath. It's revealing the most detailed map ever produced beneath Stonehenge. They combined different instruments to scan the area to a depth of 3 meters with unprecedented resolution. I knew you was doing a bit about Stonehenge, but I didn't know which part of it was, so that's why I wonder whether this was it. Which obviously it wasn't. Among the surprises yielded by the research are traces of up to 60 huge stones or pillars which form part of the 1.5 kilometre wide Superhenge previously identified at nearby Durrington Walls. For the past 4 years, we have been looking at this amazing monument to try and see what was around it, says Professor Vincent Gaffney from the University of Birmingham.
That'd be it. That'd be the same fella.
Yeah, and the research is also described in 2 BBC Two documentaries. I've recorded one. One was the next one's on Thursday. Does it actually tell me what it's called? Bear with me.
While you'll find out what it's called.
Oh, here you go. Operation Stonehenge: What Lies Beneath. It's called. And you can also get it on demand or
on the old iPlayer.
Yeah, or on the iPlayer. But it seems quite interesting. It's something that I'm going to sit down and watch. But they're basically saying that there's stuff underground that they've found out about. So have a look at that.
Well, if they found the map, it might be mapping out the whole area that was there originally. Okay, the cage in Essex. This is where we did a live link with John Blackburn and his team. You may remember the owner, Vanessa Mitchell, posted on Facebook on the 8th of September. To the paranormal community, I've decided to open up the floors to the cage. We have been told by many people over the years that there are bodies underneath there, and also a job that needs to be done to put the souls that are at unrest to peace. If that's possible, it's something I have questioned for years, and I've decided it needs to be done before the house is sold. So she's also thinking of selling it as well. We will dig under all 3 downstairs rooms in the hope to uncover the bodies of men, women and children which may or may not be there. This is not a light undertaking and something which will need the help with the whole process will be a lengthy and expensive one. So she's asking for help of skilled workmen who may be interested in the excavation of the cage cellar or cells.
Have you got the link for that?
No, there isn't a link. It was on Facebook.
Oh, right.
It was on the old Facebook. I have been offered before the help of people and builders, if it was ever done, but now it will be in November and December. So I'm asking for those people who have volunteered to please contact me. We can start planning the process. The dig will be led by Ross Hodgkinson and also filmed by director Simon Ludgate for purposes of which we do not know at this stage. We may find something, we may not. What we do know is there is a cellar. Anyone interested, please contact me or Ross on a private message through the old Facebook. So if you guys are interested in helping out that, if of course if you're skilled at the job, they could do with your help. If not, then please don't contact the lady unless you've got some information for her. As if you're not skilled at some of these things, you can get yourself in a lot of trouble. So here goes your next link there. Okie dokie. Forget the goggles. Chlorophyll eye drops can give you night vision. And before I go any further, people, please do not try this.
Yeah.
It's only been done on animals at the moment, and it hasn't been perfected, so you don't know how it's going to act with human eyes. But listen up, because it may happen yet. We don't know. What the dragonfish discovered through evolution, the US military wants to apply to the battlefield. Seeing in the dark could soon be as easy as popping a pill or squeezing some drops in your eyes. Thanks to some new science, an unusual deep-sea fish, and a plant pigment. In the 1990s, marine biologist Ron Douglas of University of London discovered that unlike other deep-sea fish, the dragonfish, I've not been looking forward to this, Molluscus niger, can perceive red light. Douglas was surprised when he isolated the chemical responsible for absorbing red. It was chlorophyll. And that was weird, he says. The fish had somehow co-opted chlorophyll, most likely from bacteria in their food, and turned it into a night vision enhancer. In 2004, Elias Washington, an ophthalmic scientist at Columbia University Medical Center, came across Douglas's findings, and Washington knew that the mechanism involved in vision tend to be similar throughout the animal kingdom. So he wondered whether chlorophyll could be enhanced the vision of other animals, including humans. His latest experiments in mice and rabbits suggest that administering chlorophyll to the eyes can double their ability to see in low light. The pigment absorbs hues of red light that are normally invisible in dim conditions. That information is then transmitted to the brain, allowing enhanced vision. Washington is now developing ways to develop chlorophyll to human eyes safely and easily, perhaps through drops. He believes that a night vision drug could be most useful on battlefield, so it is no surprise that the US Department of Defense is funding his work. The military would want this biological enhancement so they don't have to carry nighttime goggles during operations in the dark, he says. There you go. We could end up seeing in the dark.
Yeah, but would we really want to do that? Put stuff. I know some people put stuff in their eyes for their contact lenses and stuff like that. Maybe contact lenses. I don't know, but I don't know. What do you reckon? Would you?
Putting chlorophyll directly into my eyes, I would bulk at that thing a bit. But obviously, if it's gone through testing and everything, then your eyes are okay. But it would be great for us from a paranormal point of view.
Yeah, I know. What do you think?
Make our vision a lot better.
What do you think, Ace Paradox? You know, you're the gadget man. What do you think to this sort of idea coming up? So just before you carry on there, Steve, I'm just going to say hello to those that are in the chat room.
Yep, go for it.
We have Andy707. Nice to see you back with us again. Hope you're feeling well. and we've also got Ghostwriter 1973. We've got Ace Paradox, and we've also got quite a few people watching tonight who's not in the chat room. So why don't you come in and join us and join in the conversations and give us your questions. Answer to the question from Ace Paradox: who would allow this to be tested on themselves? That's another question.
Maybe somebody with bad eyesight.
Possibly.
If it's good, I mean, if you're losing your sight, maybe it could help.
You know, so
To some people, it'd be worth the risk.
So if you are listening out there, please why don't you join us, or you can contact us later on the phone if you want to ask questions to our guest. That's at 0844 414 3982. If you want to contact us by Skype, I nearly said PayPal there for some reason. You can Skype
That would
us
be clever.
at ktpf.paranormalshow. So we look forward to maybe seeing your questions there. Okay, and even if you're just on Skype and you don't want to talk to us, you can pop your question in through the little chat box there. So why don't you come in and join us? And also acknowledging people, those that are listening on our YouTube channel for the radio replay. I hope you're enjoying the show, and including Chris Mack and Robert. And so hopefully we'll see you in the live show soon. So over to you, Steve.
Well, thank you.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, that went a bit longer than you thought then, didn't it?
Yeah, just don't mind me. I'm tired. I'm waffling.
Okay. Top Russians make major UFO disclosure statement. Aliens are real.
Really?
According to this new information, the Russians have known about alien civilizations for several decades. To many, this comes as no surprise. There have been rumours floating around for many years. Well-respected military and government scientists have been trying to speak out on the issue for some time now. In the vast majority of cases, the mainstream media either treats this like a non-event, or they treat it like the information is coming from a very unreliable source. The information is a big step in disclosure process for mankind. The Soviet Times says that the Ministry of Defense was working on a secret project aimed at creating a superhuman with paranormal abilities. This, to some of us, was no surprise, of course. Under this project, a group of scientists managed to get in touch with foreign alien civilization. The head of the top secret project shares some details with reporters for the first time. On a regular winter day in Moscow, in the comfort of his room by the fireplace, journalists were given a real sensation. A senior retired official of the Ministry of Defense, Lieutenant General in the Reserve, PhD, a fellow of the Academy of Natural Science, Alexei Savin, said that in the late 80s, a group of researchers from the Expert Management Unit of General Staff managed to make contact with representatives from another civilization. Interestingly, none of the journalists were particularly surprised, but rather relieved with the confession. Vasily Yeramenko, a Major General of FBI in reserve, accommodation of the Academy of Security, Defense and Law Enforcement, was the first to speak of the process in Soviet times. He served in the KGB and was supervised the Air Force and development of aviation technology among this assignment. There was a collection of information by the Air Force of the facts of apparent unidentified flying objects, according to Vasily. By the time there was an ample amount of such information, missile units were giving a directive in case of detection UFOs. The main task was not to create opportunities for reciprocal aggression. In 83 to 84, at the testing grounds of the Academy of Science, Vladimirenkov, the Ministry of Defense and KGB organized a large-scale study of paranormal phenomena. The military training site was not random choice. I tell you what, you follow the link for that, and I will summarise. This is quite long.
You summarise.
I shall summarise. Basically, they made contact, and they realised that by upping the military manoeuvres and that around Air Force bases and stuff like that, they could predict practically 100% that there would be UFOs in the area.
All right.
So they've been working that way. There's also other stuff down there about other paranormal stuff in this thing. It is quite long. It's if I typed it all out, I'd be here all night reading it out.
Well, Andy says he hopes it hasn't come from before the news, before it's news. But at the end of the day, these are the observations that are going around the world.
Yeah, they're out there. So somebody already knows about it.
So hi, Viscount. Nice to see you again.
Yes, there we go, and there we go. There's another one.
What's next on the agenda?
What's next on the agenda? Ghosts are real.
Oh, ghosts are real now. Ghosts are real now.
Ghosts are real. Experts reveals London's spooky past as Ghostbusters celebrate 30 years. As movie fans celebrate the 30th anniversary of Ghostbusters, a paranormal expert has unveiled some of London's most chilling ghost stories, just walking distance away from some of the capital's biggest sites. This article was done by Tom Roll and was published on the 9th of September 2014. The ghost fanatic James Kislingbury revealed how converted from a non-believer as he told the Daily Star online about some of the strange encounters. James, 34, from Reading, has been the attractions director at the London Tombs Experience for 6 years now. Before he joined the team, he said he laughed at the idea of ghosts, but after a number of spooky confrontations, he is sure the paranormal is out there, and very real indeed, he said. There are lots of spooky things that happen around here. We've had things been seen, doors opening and closing by themselves. We've had all sorts of crazy things, and that's just in the tomb itself. At least once a month we have a paranormal companies coming down to investigate a new sighting. James talked about one of these most frightening moments with a spectre that the staff know as the Shadow Man, a large black mass that many people have reportedly spotted close to the bridge, London Bridge. He said a number of years ago when I was locking down the attraction with a colleague, we saw a figure walking towards us. We shone our torches on it, but before we knew it, it had gone through us and vanished into a solid wall. And of course we stood in shock before speedily exiting the area. He says even guests at the attraction have seen the likes of Shadow Man and other paranormal beings that are not staged by the company. He explained how a group of people were amazed by a ghost who they believed worked as a scarer at the venue. One group of about 12 people were going through our Spider Room exhibition. They told me at the end how good they thought one of our scarers was as a little girl, standing in the corner of the room. Of course, my initial thought as a manager was that my staff should be interacting with guests, not just standing there doing nothing. So I rang down to the front desk and asked to know which member of staff it was. They told me that they had no females working that day. So then I asked who was wearing that costume, but they replied, we don't have that costume. That frightened the life out of me. I couldn't tell you what it was or why it happened, but at least 12 people witnessed it. So there you go. He says ghosts are real.
Okay.
Here's a little short one.
Little short one.
Little short one.
See what happens.
Here we go. The ghost who is haunting a lap dancing club. This was published on the 8th of September by Sarah Whiteley. We've heard of haunted houses and scary cemeteries, but a ghost in a lap dancing club, that's a new one. But to the staff at Perfect 10, club is convinced they are a creepy client which has left them all terrified. The girls have heard footsteps, felt a presence, and even seen an elderly man who wears dark clothing in the strip bar impress them. Excuse me. An old manageress was so scared that she fled from the building, and even the bouncers are terrified by their otherworldly visitor. Some have become convinced that the spooky spectre is an old customer, while others think it's because the club is close to two churches. Boss Harry Hiswell, 37, said it's a bit cheeky, isn't it? He gets to see the show but never pays entry charge. I suppose if you're a ghost, there are worse places to hang about than a lap dancing club.
The Viscount said, lap dancing ghost, I want to be one of those.
I bet.
So, I don't know. You get them, didn't you? Is that your last one?
No, I have one more.
Okay. What's the next one?
I'm just copying the link for the guys in the chat room. Paste. There we go. Wayfarer column says the castle is haunted by a soldier killed at Waterloo.
Where?
I'll tell you in a minute.
All right.
The Wayfarer is a column, dear.
All right. Okay.
Yeah. This was done on the 14th of this month. If you look hard enough, we will find some wonderful tales to tell, some amusements, and some that will raise the hairs on the back of your neck in a scary way. The latter are the tales that keep you awake at night, or at least bring on some unpleasant dreams and even nightmares while you sleep. Looking for some of these scary tales, we hear of Don's Castle in Berwickshire, the home of the Hay family since 1696, which is haunted by an 18-year-old Alexander Hay, a cornet in the Dragoons, who was killed on the battlefield of Waterloo in 1815. Unfortunately, his body was never found to receive a decent burial, but his spirit appears to have returned to Don's Castle to haunt his old home in full military uniform, a restless spirit who sadly has had such a short normal lifespan. It always seems to be old castles that host ghosts, perhaps in their age, and the fact that the thickness of their walls keep them standing even in the ruins centuries. This, except, is the castle outside Helmsford in Sutherland, which I am led to believe totally disappeared one night during the building of a road bridge. I understand that the navvies were short of rubble in the building, and they nicked the castle in order to get paid their bonus for completing the work ahead of time. Use what was left of the old castle they did. But there again, it's all hearsay, and it was sometimes before the castle was missed, but then it was too late to do anything about it except surmise that it was in the foundations of the bridge. Back to the supernatural, Drumlanrig Castle reports not one, but two ghosts. One is that of a decapitated lady who roams the castle holding her head under her arm. It is said that the head of Lily Ann Douglas, but why she should be headless is not known. The other ghost is that of a large yellow monkey which haunts only one room. But where the monkey came from is not known. But there is often a rhyme or reason for these tales. But they do tend to flourish. There you go. And that links to you, because you used to say that, didn't you?
What's that?
When you were saying about people telling you what they see or what they feel. Because you said if you see a monkey in the corner doing something it shouldn't do,
yes,
you never know, the previous owner may have had a monkey.
May have had a monkey, and he may have been naughty. That's what I normally say.
That is what you used to say, wasn't it?
Yep. People used to laugh. Right, okay, guys. So we're going to get our next guest on, but before we do, I just want to give you a little bit of an introduction to him. Now, for those of you who don't know, cryptozoology comes from the Greek cryptos, which means hidden, and zoology, that literally means study of hidden animals. Okay, and they call it a pseudoscience, and it's involving the search for animals whose existence has not been proven. Now, if you look back into the days of to the days before the gorilla, the giraffe, and things like that, and even the camel. These were animals that were out there that nobody discovered, and now look where we are. We've got these creatures in our normal everyday thing. Now, we've had cryptozoologists on before, but tonight we're going to have Adam Davies on. Now, whether you call him an explorer, an adventurer, or a cryptozoologist, there is nobody alive today who has done more active field work to prove the existence of yet to be discovered animals in remote and sometimes dangerous parts of the world. So we're going to contact him and find out a bit about his last expedition, and what he was looking for, and a
little bit about himself.
Yeah, and about himself. So let's get him on the phone, or on the Skype.
On the Skype would be better.
Yes. So, here we go.
Here he comes.
Hello.
Hi, it's Adam.
Hiya, Adam. You alright?
I'm good. How are you?
Not too bad. Can you turn your speaker down a little bit or something?
No, he needs to mute the show.
Oh, you mute the show if you can, if you're listening.
I can't. I don't know how to do it, I'm afraid.
Right. Okay, no problem. Right.
If he's on the show, it's just there's a little sound button on there.
I can't hear
on
it
the
now
feed.
Anyway, so it's okay. It might have been just as we started up.
Oh.
So,
Okay.
Is it too loud for you, Andy? Turn your speakers down, darling. Right, welcome to the show, Adam. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself before we start?
Yeah, sure. I've looked for unknown species for many years. I think it's probably the last 15 years. I've made documentaries for National Geographic, for the History Channel, and for a number of other organisations. I'm very interested in looking for unknown cryptids. My main reasoning, the thing I most like to do, is to try and get some scientific evidence of them. So I guess that's my background.
So how did you get into this? Why did you think that it needed to be done?
Well, I don't think it was so much of a need in the first instance. It was more about wanting to. I think the earliest thing was I was fascinated by the Arthur C. Clarke Mysterious Worlds when I was a teenager, and I remember seeing Roy Macaulay on that, and he was going to the Congo, and he was in a hammock going to the Congo, and he was falling out of it. He was in Central Park, and he was falling out of it. And the thing I liked about him was that he was fallible. Yeah, so he wasn't. Like Sir Reynold Fiennes, I mean, he's a hero, but if you read Sir Reynold Fiennes' stuff, it's like day 52, my toe dropped off and still I held on. And I thought, well, if my toe dropped off, I'd rather be at the pub. It was. I like the fact that he was a bit rubbish, still had some guts, and wanted to do it. So I think that was my earliest aspirations, and then what I decided to do was, I'd always liked animal tracking. I'd done it with my dad since I was very, very little. And so gradually I progressed from there and did expeditions, and then by chance I ended up doing some TV documentaries.
Yeah.
And sort of all mushroomed from there, and then I found evidence, and it made newspapers. So it was a gradual mushrooming, and that was how it happened. Yeah.
Yeah. So what was the first place you actually visited, and what was you looking for?
I think the first proper thing I ever looked for was many years ago. I was travelling in Sumatra many years ago, and I'd heard stories about the orang pendek, which was the Sumatran jungle primate. And I decided to go up to this lake. I took a guide, and I decided to go up to this lake called Gunung where there's been a lot of activity. Yeah. And he was a guy called Pat Solok, and I went and trudged up on my own up there with him. and had a look round, and he basically described how he'd saw two of these creatures fighting. And I was very, very interested in that. So that was the first thing I ever did of any real investigation. And then after that, I ended up doing a few more things. I think I went to Norway next, and then did things all over the world. But that was the starting point, and I liked it because it felt very sort of primeval. It felt like a place where something could exist. You know, it's a marvelous place, and you could hear gibbons hooting in the distance as you got up there. So I like the adventure of it, and gradually, as I looked for more things all over the world, I became interested in the rationale behind them, in the sense of what could they be, what were they thinking, how intelligent they are, what could I do to preserve them. So there's all sorts of things evolved, but I think my starting point as a teenager was the adventure of it, the idea of doing those unknown things, and then as time progressed, I went off and did those other things. Yeah.
So take us out there. You know, you fly out. You know, what exactly happens on one of these expeditions? What kind of situations are you actually in?
Well, I think before you even fly out, you have to do a lot of preparation for them, and it wouldn't be just me that would do that. It would, you know, depending on the team I was with. And so I've had some very good people over the years who helped me do those things. So there's a lot of preparation before you go, because most of the time you're doing it on your own time and own money.
Yeah.
So it's really important that you plan it, because I mean, you know, through all of these things, I was always deciding, you know, is this thing plausible? Do I want to spend my own time and my own money, because you're doing it on a shoestring? Do I want to spend my own time and own money looking for something, and seeing if it possibly could exist? And so there's that before you go.
Yeah.
And then when you get there, you obviously you're maximising your chances to go and look for it. So a lot of the time, you're trying as hard as you possibly can to try and find those things. And you know, if you get those exciting times, there's been times very recently in America in June where, you know, been on the trail of a possible Bigfoot, which was remarkable, and I'll talk about that later if you'd like me to. But there's also a lot of sitting around when not much is happening when you're looking at bushes.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to say that, you know, it's not, but there's and you know, you suffer a bit, you can get a few cuts and bruises and other things, and you can be ill and stuff, but I wouldn't have changed any of those experiences for the world, because they were remarkable fun and I enjoyed it.
So I'm assuming that there's no lush hotel or whatever, and what kind of situation are you in where that's concerned? Are you actually out in the bush, so to speak?
Yeah, totally, completely.
Out with the bugs, Gil. Out with the bugs.
I can't ever remember staying in a lush hotel. I don't think so. I mean, when I did I did a Finding Bigfoot show with Cliff Barrettman, and I sort of teased them because they got this big mansion thing which some general had stayed in, and we were all in this like shack down the road. But he came out into the jungle and he worked really hard when we were there. But no, there was never a lush hotel, and I could never afford to do a lush hotel, and I'm kind of glad about that, because it gave me experiences that I wouldn't have otherwise had. So I'll give you a specific example. When I was in the Congo looking for something called the Nikila Mwembe, the Congo dinosaur, which was my first inspiration, the one I spoke about as a starting point, I was there sleeping with the Bantu under the stars, and the Bantu tribesmen were all around me, and they put down their spears, and then we all kicked down for the night, and then we headed off to Telly. And it was a wonderful experience. It was extremely dangerous, but it was an amazing experience. And if I'd had loads of money and like we'd had a seaplane in and out and set up big habitat camps, then I would have never have had that. No. And I wouldn't have seen half the things I've seen. So, in a way, it's fortuitous. I think, you know, I think the disadvantage of that is because often you're doing it on your own money, you can sometimes think, well, I haven't got a lot of slush funds, so if something goes wrong, I could be seriously screwed here. Yeah. but it hasn't turned out that way for me, and I'm blessed because of it.
So you're literally sleeping under the stars, I assume, like, I'm a celebrity, get me out of here, sort of thing. And you have guide. Well, I'm not a celebrity. Don't get me out of here in your place. But but I'm assuming you have guides with you, and you have to pay them and what have you.
Yeah, it's very in somewhere like that. I mean, different places, different locales. So in somewhere like that, it's very, very hard. I mean, that was wading through 56 kilometres of swamp jungle up to my waist, and I'm not trying to diss the achievements about the I'm a Celebrity contestants, but worrying about rice and beans at the end of the day was frankly the least of my worries. I would have been grateful for them. I had to eat monkey on one occasion, and two occasions. It wasn't very pleasant. So that the rice and beans would have been a treat. but yeah, you have to pay for local guides, and part of. But I think when you pay for them, when you organise that, it's also important that you have a good rapport with them, and we have a laugh together, and there's a mutual respect fostered, but everything. If I'm making a film, obviously they pay for the guides, they'll do all of that, and work out that way. But if I'm financing it myself, I'm paying for them myself. And even when I have made films, I've often done a lot of the research and production on them. So I've organised the payment of the guides and organised the film shoot and everything else, or certainly participated in helping organise it. So there's been a lot of that background. And I think that people can often assume that films are made with, these type of documentaries are made with vast budgets and money's no option. When in reality, even with the American productions, there's often not a great profit margin on them. So even with those, I don't get paid for them and all. I don't make money off this. If it was a business, it would be the worst business ever. Because I would have lost thousands of pounds and got little back. I do it because I enjoy it and because I'm intellectually curious about what these things might be. There's no motivation to it other than that, really.
No. We've got a couple of things in the chat room for you. Dave Lloyd wants to know, what about the giant skeletons found all over the world? I don't know what that one's about. He's mentioned that one.
Maybe he's wondering if you ever thought about going checking them out.
Yeah, whether you thought about checking them out. Certain country governments have tried to cover up their existence, as it means our whole history is different, he says. I don't know if you know about the giant skeletons at all.
Yeah, I know what he's referring to. There's a number of stories about giant skeletons. Most particularly, there's a story that the Smithsonian concealed giant skeletons. There's a lot of stories about whether archaeology or recent biology for cryptids has been covered up. I understand that these things may or may not exist. I've never, to answer his question specifically, I've heard about them, but I've never looked into them as such. And I should do, because I've started to take an interest, and I was reading an article the other day. So it's not that I won't, I may well do in the future. What I can say with some confidence is that when I have worked with government institutions, they have collaborated or helped me. So I've never personally come up with anyone in a government or in different parts of the world who've said, no, I'm not going to help you, or I'm actively going to obstruct you. They, in fact, have actually helped me in a lot of cases. So I think that my own view on that is there can always be rogue individuals or institutions, but I think the idea of a worldwide cover-up is a bit of a stretch for me personally.
Right, the other question that's in the chat room is from the Viscount, is previously, before your last expedition, not including that, because we'll talk about that in a moment, what have you actually found or believe you may have found at all?
Yeah, well, I mean, I can list them. In Norway, I was part of a team that found we shot video, and we also had a hydrophone. We dropped sonar in, and that was identified by the Marine Research Institute as being an unknown species. In Sumatra, I've been part of teams which have found hair samples, and they've been analysed by other scientists, and they've come to the conclusion that they were unknown primate. And I wrote a paper on that, which was in scientific exploration society entitled New Species in Sumatra, New Primate Species in Sumatra, which people can Google. And at the moment, right now, I've got some hair samples from my recent expedition to America, which are currently being tested by a geneticist. And I've worked with a few other geneticists recently, and now I'll talk about that more probably in the next few weeks. So the bottom line is I have found things. There was China. I did a film called China's Wild Man on the Yeren, and Jeff Meldrum, the anthropologist who was with me, we were given a print of a Yeren, a Chinese wild man, and he worked with Dr. Zhu from Beijing University, and they published a scientific paper on a new primate, possible new primate. So there's been a lot of science behind some of the stuff I've done, because that's what I'm most interested in, trying to get objective evidence. Can I say that I've definitively proved something? Then no, because I think with all of these things, extraordinary claims require extraordinary proof. And the balance of evidence has to be that much higher for an cryptid than it would be, say, I'm not trying to be derogatory about a new species of frog, the balance of evidence has to be that much higher. But yeah, I've certainly found evidence which would be, were not a cryptid, persuasive to most people.
Yeah, right. And talking about your evidence, how do you get your evidence researched by these geneticists? How much does it cost? Obviously, you have, once you get these samples, you need to give them to somebody, don't you? And again, it's obviously out of your money.
I don't pay for those, fortunately.
Oh, do you not?
No.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I've been very blessed by the fact that the people I've worked with have done it for me as a favour. Some of them I've known for a while, and so if I've done a show with them or something else, that they've said, well, I'll test out a sample for you. That's because I think they know I'm not going to send them a bunch of moss.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Yeah.
If I send them something, I have to satisfy myself and that there's a possibility that something's there. More often than not, it's not going to be, and they're prepared for that too. But if somebody wanted something genetically tested, it can cost over $1,000.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's a lot of money. So I have to make sure that the samples that I'm giving them have a reasonable provenance. So I'll describe what's happened. I'll tell them where I found it. I'll document that. I'll do a very short field report, and then I'll test it on that basis. But so, for example, the ones I found in America are being tested by a geneticist right now. But that's because I've known him for a long time. We've worked together, and he knows that I'm not going to send him bull. I might be wrong. In this field, I can say I'm no expert. I'm more likely to be wrong than right. But he knows that I'm not going to blag him and give him a load of rubbish. No, he's got something tangible to work with that he can hopefully extract the DNA from, and then we can learn what it is.
Right, okay. Well, what we're going to do, we're going to take a quick break, okay, Adam, while I just play this jingle, and then we'll come back and find out what's happened in the last exhibition.
Yeah, sure, no worries.
The Paranormal Intelligence Gathering Services Ghost Store is a one-stop shop for all of your ghost hunting gadgetry needs. Run by ghost hunters for ghost hunters, the shop is filled with all of the latest in investigation equipment, shipped in from all around the world, from high-quality digital dictaphones to EMF pumps, infrared illuminators to laser grid pens, CCTV equipment to data loggers. All of our equipment has already been imported, so you can buy it safe in the knowledge that there will be no hidden costs. And with our postage promise, you'll never pay more than the actual postage price. So visit www.the-pigs.co.uk/ghost store.
Yeah, welcome back to the KTPF Community Talk Show. We're keeping it friendly here every Sunday and every day, actually. But tonight we're keeping it friendly with yourselves and our guest, Mr. Adam Davies. Now, Adam, before we go into your last exhibition, one question that's come in is from David Lloyd again. He said, did you ever meet the late Lloyd Pye? And what does he think of, or what do you think of the Star Child skull? He says, he goes on to say that he met him in Liverpool and a couple of years ago, and he felt he was a really nice guy. Did you ever meet him?
No, I've heard he is. I've heard he is a nice guy. And again, I've not researched the historic anatomy of some of these cryptids, probably to the same way as David Lloyd from fans of it. I am interested in it. I mean, obviously, to set the scene, obviously that's a very long, elongated skull. It's been found in South America, and there's a number of pictures of it. I would say that the one thing I'd say about all these things from when I started to now is that research and genetic research has improved exponentially. So speaking to some of the leading geneticists, even in the last 2 years, the ability to stop human contamination has almost been eradicated now, which is marvellous news, because the biggest thing that I had historically was, it could have been contaminated, it could have been human, it could have been this. But these days, that is much less. So I think the answer to your question is yes, I'm interested in him. No, I haven't met him. But now I think it would be worthy of even more research because I mean, I remember with one of the skulls that was found in Russia with Zana, that I think initially it was just dismissed, but even very recently Brian Sykes, for example, said, well, this could be a known derivative of hominid, and that's with improved genetic knowledge when it was first analysed to, I think, in 2008 to even now. So I think there's a lot of progress, and those things are so unusual. I would test them again.
Right, okay. Well, if you're interested in the Star Child, people in the chat room, we will have Amy Vickers talking to us at the later part of October. But back to tonight and Adam Davies. Now, Adam, as you say, you've been on an exhibition recently and to the US. Can you tell us a bit about that then?
Yeah, sure. Well, what I was interested in, I've been to I've been to the Cascades and done some research there in North America, in the Pacific Northwest. And when I was there, I'd heard a specific Bigfoot type grunt, for want of a better word. I'm assuming it's Bigfoot. This is an assumption on my part. I can't definitively prove that. But it was very ape-like, and it reminded me of some of the primates I'd heard in other areas like the Congo and Sumatra in India. And I was extremely interested in whether I could find out more and pursue more evidence around that. So I settled on 3 particular locations. I went first of all to what's called the Olympic Project, which is run by a very nice guy called Derek Randalls, which is not far from, it's all called the Olympic Peninsula, but it's around the Seattle area. And then I went to Oregon to spend some time with a guy called Matthew Johnson, who spent 8 years allegedly habituating a Bigfoot group. That was alleged. That was my view at the time. And then I went on to California to spend some time with Bart Patino and Justin Sneha, and Justin claiming to have killed a Bigfoot, and there's a lot of controversy about that for all sorts of obvious reasons. So I think, I'll tell you in turn about the different things, if you like, and what I learned.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So the first thing, at the Olympic Project, I had a great success. I was really fortunate. When I got there, I met Jeff Meldrum, who I've worked with before, the anthropologist. Had a good time, chilled out, and then together with my friend John Carlson, I met up with a few other people, Shane Corson, Shelley Covington, Montana, but also some people I didn't know. And we decided to do a night trek. Now, we did this trek, and I chose to go to an area towards the lake where there had been the highest concentrations of potential big sightings. As we wandered along, I saw some debris coming down from a slope. There was no wind, so there was no reason why this debris would come down. Now, there was a line of trees up on this slope, which was risen, but what I realised was that it would make a perfect observational post if you were looking down. And I decided to emit the same grunt as I'd emitted, or heard emit, in the Cascades. And I got a sharp grunt back, and it stunned everybody. I mean, some of these people we'd never met before, and it was amazing. So I decided to repeat the experiment and moved a little bit farther on, trying to demonstrate a sort of alpha male behaviour. And I got another grunt again. And then I got a higher pitched grunt from the other side, and I don't want to be too gross, but I then urinated to sort of display this alpha male behaviour, and the thing went really grunted very, very loudly. And it was great. Now, what Shane did the next day was he had placed a recorder there, a sound recording device, and the next night he went back to collect that, and there were 8 polite grunts on the recorder, which was fascinating, fascinating. And we were all really thrilled by that. It was, and I know that since then Derek has been back and he's got to that area and has also emulated that experiment. So he's made grunts and he's got grunts back in that specific locale. And according to his background knowledge, that's a place where he's been working quite a lot historically. He, on the same night above us, because his group were at a higher elevation, we were at the lower elevation, he had got wood knocks. And what I did the next day was I took a group out and we gathered some hair samples. And it's always a long shot, because you always think, oh, well, more likely to be a deer or anything else that's knocking around. But because there were hairs gathered, because it was hairs where we'd had this specific incident and it was witnessed by a number of people, some of whom which I had never met before or didn't know, and then they were able to repeat the experiment and we were able to get a recording, that's when the hairs become worthy of analysis, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
So because there's a lot of corroborating background data, so they're being tested at the moment by a geneticist. So I was really pleased with that trip. It was great.
So you don't think it could have been a bear or something grunting back at you?
No, I don't think so. And the guys who were with me, who are very familiar with that locale, there's some very good trackers and people who are very well known, spend a lot of time in that area. They don't think so either. But do I know it? Do I know definitively? No, I don't know definitively. So could it possibly have been a bear? Yes, but I think that's extremely unlikely. Based on everybody else's experiences, also based on the recordings that I heard subsequently, which did appeared to me and to those people when we played them back to sound very ape-like.
Yeah.
So I was really pleased. You can never be sure because it's what's definitive scientific evidence is something like DNA, which is much more difficult. You can analyze that and sequence it and say, well, this is what it is. A sound recording, just like a photo, is always open to objective scrutiny and people's opinions.
Yeah.
But it was certainly something tangible that's worthy of future experiments, and Derek's carrying on doing that research. He runs the project, so he'll carry on doing it, and I'm great. I'm very happy.
Steve?
Yeah, there's a technical expert who they have there, who's a sound recordist called David Ellis, and he's been doing all that work on it. So he's going through all his sound banks of data, and he did all of that virtually straight away. They have a team of experts there who specialise in different things. So Derek does a lot of the tracking. David, for example, does a lot of the sound and sound expertise, and Shane does as well. And also there's a guy, Tom Baker, who does a lot of the extrapolation of data to show where Bigfoots might be more prevalent in their activity. So there's a massive project there. I'm just making a small contribution. But my contribution, hopefully, was very useful to him. So we'll see, we'll see what happens.
So is it possible that, excuse my ignorance, you're the expert here.
I'm not an expert, I'm just
But is it possible that maybe there's some sort of deformed creature out there that could possibly be that could have some sort of bipedal manner?
Well, in that area, there's been a lot of the reason the Olympic project was set up in that specific location was because there's been a lot of Bigfoot activity there, and then Derek's had results with thermal imaging in that area historically. So I'm going to an area where there's a higher concentration of Bigfoot activity, and looking for further evidence. So you never know. It would be unlikely that it was one specific creature, and on the recording that Shane did, it seemed like there were two, one communicating with the other. And as I said, when I was there and with these people who are independent witnesses, we clearly heard two grunts from two different creatures, because one was on one side and one was on the other. Yeah. And so I think that it being a lone creature is probably the most improbable of the potential scenarios.
Now, the story of the Bigfoot has been going on for years.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think how far back it's been going. Perhaps you'll know more than me. But do you think that obviously there's you need to think about their reproduction? How are they doing this? There's got to be more than one, isn't there?
Yeah, there'll be different populations, and I think that they're probably a little bit more common than has previously been assumed. I dare to guess how many there are. I wouldn't have a clue, and I think that if I was to speculate that and put a figure on it, I would be wrong.
Yeah.
But I think from my own experience, I think I've been there. What is it, 4 times, something like that, in the last few years. I think that they're more common than is previously supposed. But I also think, and I was speaking about this with Barcatino, there's still vast tracts of that area of the US which are still forest. But that is being eradicated more and more, and often the sightings of Bigfoot are quite near population areas. You don't have to trek days and days in the wilderness to have an encounter. It can be quite near. It can be quite near a road or a campsite or whatever else. It's quite surprising, really. Yeah. So I think that they're more common than previously thought. Yeah. I think that the thing that most interests me about Bigfoot is just how bright they are, because they seem to be far more intelligent than anything else I've ever looked at.
Steve?
Well, in some ways they'll be related to us because we'll all be hominids of a type. I think the question is really how close we are to them. Yeah, how genetically close we are to them, and what level of sentience they do have. I mean, when I wrote my paper on the orang pendek, I postulated a theory of parallel evolution with a pygmy orangutan that had evolved to walk bipedally. The biggest question, the biggest question I want answered about Bigfoot, to encapsulate your point, is just what it is and what level of sentience, intelligence it has. Because it seems to be remarkably intelligent, and it seems, certainly when I went to Oregon with Matthew, that it seems to have a level of language skills which are remarkable, and I was really surprised at that. So I'd love to know. I hope we get some answers soon. It's certainly possible. I really would love to know. If anything I've ever looked for, that's the question I most want answered.
Steve, and
I was just about to
reiterate
that because I turned my mic off when you did the thing earlier, and because I hadn't answered the question, I forgot to turn it back on again. The question I asked Adam was, does he think that A, they are related to us, and B, about the theory that the gene pool split and one ended up with us and the other ended up with what we now call Bigfoot.
And you had your answer.
And there was the answer.
Now the Viscount's asking, do you think it's possible that the Bigfoot is mating with bears?
No. I can't see how a bear and a Bigfoot would mate and it would reproduce.
They don't really. The genes.
No, species don't usually crossbreed. I mean, you'll end up with things like the quagga because you got the zebra, and it's basically the same species.
Yeah.
But you don't usually get cross species.
They wouldn't be able to. To bluntly speaking, they wouldn't be able to fertilise one another.
No.
So I don't think that's a possibility at all. I think that Bigfoot, they're far more likely to be, as Steve said, more closely related to us in some capacity than they are to be, say, a bear or anything else that's knocking around. They are extremely bright. I mean, you could tell, for example, with Shane's recorder, it seemed to us that it was looking for it. As a technical device. And when I went to Oregon, as I say, that it seemed very clearly that the Bigfoots there had a language, which was very fascinating. I don't fully understand it, and I don't think I would if I spent 20 years trying to study it. I think it will be something that will happen in the future. but they are on a whole level of sentience much greater than any of the other species that are around in North America. Way beyond.
Yeah, the Viscount is asking that maybe would they mate with apes?
Say again?
Could they mate with apes?
Well, it's possible. I mean, we don't understand their genetic composition.
Yeah.
So that's it. But the question would be in North America, well, what other apes would they mate with? Because there are supposed to be no apes in North America. So by the same token, so what would they crossbreed with? They can only breed with each other or with us potentially, and that would be it.
I take it the Bigfoot in America is synonymous as we had with the Loch Ness Monster.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of myth. I mean, I've looked for Loch Ness Monster myself, but I mean, there's a lot of it's something that it's in their community. It's something that they very passionately believe in.
Yeah.
Those people there, and they have very differing views. So, I mean, it's a very good question then. So, let me give you a specific example of the 3 places I went to. So, Derek's team are researchers, and they follow their methodology is tracking, setting out trail cameras, extrapolating data in that respect. The next place I went to with Matthew Johnson, he's what would be described as a habituator. So his methodology is that he would say, well, if he were here, he'd say, well, I've spent 8 years researching a Bigfoot family in Oregon, in his secret research area, and my methodology there is to build their trust, to put out food for them, to interact with them. So he plays music, he tries to build a relationship with them on that basis. And there's not much crossover between the 2 different methodologies. And again, in California, when I was with Bart and Justin, their methodology is very much that of a researcher, but Justin would like to shoot one. So there's different methodology, and the different groups do not always see eye to eye. I don't mind that, you know. I don't agree with killing a Bigfoot, but in terms of research, aside from that, I'm not bothered what people's methodology is. I'm more interested in getting the results. That's what I'm after, because I want evidence that can be independently scientifically scrutinised. And on a personal level, I got on with all of them. You know, I really like Derek and all his team. They were great. Matthew and Cynthia, his wife, were lovely with me. And you know, although I don't agree with Justin's views, on a personal level, we got on great, and I got on great with Bart and Roger and all the other people that were there. So I'm not going to say that one method's right and one method's wrong. I'm interested in the research and the data that you can get. Yeah. I think when I went to Oregon, it became clear to me that with Matthew research area, I was of the opinion that he was interacting with Bigfoots. Many people who would disagree with me on that basis, but I'm saying it as I felt it at the time. And again, I got hair samples from that area, and those samples are being tested as we speak. They were being tested last week, and they're being tested on further revisions this week. And I know that for a fact, because I've corresponded with the geneticist who is testing them. And any evidence that I find as a result of Derek and his team's hard work, and Matthew and his hard work, and together with John Carson and Ken with me, will be published and will be available for scrutiny. Whether it's news that I want to hear, which would be wonderful, or news that it's something else, like it's a bear or it's a dog or whatever else, which is always more likely because of cross-contamination. So I think in this field you prepare for bad news, because that's it. You know, when I sent a message to geneticist who's testing the other day, I said, you know, should I put the champagne on ice, or should I carry on drinking the water? You know, we have a joke about it. so we'll see. But you will hear about that. You will hear about that. You know, and a culmination of all my work, because obviously I'm getting very close to finishing a book on my 5 years of adventures called Man Beasts, and I'll let you know when that's coming out soon. So all of the data that I've gathered is always independently and objectively scrutinised. But it's all the results that will be transparent. So I would imagine when it does come out, there'll be a lot of discussion about it in the Bigfoot community. They'll want to know what's happened, and they'll be very interested in the results because we have extracted DNA, and we'll see what those results come up with.
Yeah, considering they're very intelligent beings, why do you think we're not finding bodies of the ones that are older and dying? Do you think they're burying their dead, or could there be an elephant's graveyard type thing somewhere?
This is a good question. I would imagine that they bury their dead. Also, their corpses don't stay in the forest very, very long. It's very rare, for example, as a hunter would say, to find a bear skeleton and stuff like that. But the simple answer is I don't know. I am sure that they exist. I'm sure that they exist. I've had a number of specific encounters which I will be able to document very shortly. I've just been given permission to do that. So I'll be able to talk about some of the things that I've had to keep stum about now for nearly 2 years, I think. A long time, 18 months it is, over some of the science that I've been involved in. But there is some pretty remarkable science coming out very shortly. So I'll be able to answer your question, I think, a bit better when now I've got permission to do that, and certainly in the next few weeks. So hopefully you'll enjoy hearing about it. But I mean, there's lots of articles you can read where people say, well, why haven't Bigfoot bodies been found? I mean, Cliff Barrymore, who I'm good friends with, wrote a long article on this. But the bottom line is we don't know. We don't know because they've not been proved to science. I think, when let's hope that the DNA evidence comes out that Bigfoot exists. What I'm hoping is that will be the tipping point, which will cause a major scientific project. So anthropology can be studied in a lot more detail by a lot of respected and credible people. I know my limits. I do this in my spare time. I do it because I passionately believe in it. But I'm not got a field of. I've got academics who work with me. I'm very fortunate to have that. But it really needs a major scientific project, not just people doing it in their spare time like me. And hopefully, if we get DNA, that would be what happens, and that would be the high watermark for me.
Yeah, the Viscounts asked, why do you think they stay so elusive, considering their intelligence and that? I mean, personally, I think because the ones in America are probably going to get shot at. But what would you say to that?
Well, I think you answered the question. I think that they know that very simply put, they know men carry guns, and they certainly do in America. In those areas, there's a lot of hunters, and I think it's in their interest to keep away from them. They're much more. The ones I've dealt with when I've been in ones and twos, they've been more forward. But when you've been in a group, they've been much more distant. And I think that it's just not. I think that they're very, very elusive. They're remarkable. I mean, I was never particularly interested in looking for Bigfoot really until 2008. Till I did a film called China's Wild Man with Jeff Meldrum when he showed me the Patterson Gimlin film, which allegedly shows Patty a walking Bigfoot. But I spent a long time doing anything else but, because I sort of thought, well, how can this possibly exist when there are so many people in America who go out looking for these things, and some of them are very, very good trackers. I've met some. They're brilliant. Derek's brilliant. But I think it's really because they are just so damn good and clever at what they do, and they manage to avoid it. But they're fallible. I mean, sooner or later, someone's going to shoot one, or someone's going to hit one by a car, or something like that. Eventually, it would happen. And as human encroachment goes through those forests, it's going to happen sooner or later. And I'd rather it happen as a result of a scientific initiative getting DNA rather than somebody bloody shooting one. Because I personally think that would be a tragedy.
Yeah, I mean, we don't really have a good track record with other species.
No, we don't, and that would be a concern. You only see that with historically, with our interactions with tribal peoples. Hopefully, these days we will have learned our lesson to a degree, but you can't be sure.
No. I mean, people believe that aliens exist without any real proof, as the Viscount said.
Yeah.
What's the possibility that these Bigfoot are actually aliens?
Well, I don't believe that they're aliens. I mean, in the sense aliens as in come from another planet or something like that. I don't believe that. I think that they're indigenous to. They talk about Bigfoot's indigenous to to North America. It displays a level of sophistication of tool use, for example, which is certainly bright, but it wouldn't have the technological level that would indicate it's got a superior cultural technological sophistication to us. So it wouldn't be able to leave this country or this world and fly off in a spaceship. I think that's just fanciful. I think that they are intelligent, but I don't think that they are aliens. No.
I mean, the reason I ask is because whenever there's a UFO report in the same area, we tend to get reports of other things like Bigfoot and Chupacabra and stuff like that, and other paranormal activity. All seems to happen in the same area as when you get a UFO report.
And I understand that, and I've never really explored the paranormal element to it, but I do know that with Bigfoot particularly, there's been a paranormal dimension, and I'm not dismissing a paranormal dimension. I think I can fairly dismiss the alien thing. If I'm wrong, then so be it. I don't mind being wrong. Yeah. But I understand what you mean, because often weird things can happen around these particular areas. But again, I don't understand that. The best I can do is try and get tangible physical evidence for it. And if I experience anything of a paranormal nature, then I will be fascinated by it. Yeah. It's not that I'm closed-minded about it. It's just that my focus is about getting tangible physical evidence. But I wouldn't know. You lot all would know far more about paranormal things than I would. You've got far more experience with those sort of things than I have. Yeah. So I think it's fair to say I'd be out of my depth at speculating about paranormal things. Yeah. Maybe we should talk about that another time.
Yeah. I mean, personally, I hope that they are native to this planet, so to speak. It could just be that they're so in tune with the planet and that they pick up on these things when they happen.
Yeah, I mean, they certainly have. They certainly have superior capacities in some respects. It's quite clear to me that they have, for example, superior hearing to us, superior night vision to us. They have a social sophistication and structure. They have a language. But I haven't been persuaded that they have a superior technological capability. They may have superior senses, such as the ones that you attribute to paranormal, in some capacity. I wouldn't say that was plausible or not plausible. I just say I don't know. But I'd like to know. I'd like to know more than anything. These sort of questions intrigue me, and I'll probably be speculating these for the rest of my life, as will all of us, I would imagine.
Yeah. I mean, it may sound a bit silly, but the thing that made me want to know more about Bigfoot was Harry and the Hendersons kind of thing. I kind of hope it's that kind of character, you know what I mean?
Well, I don't think all of them are friendly necessarily. In fact, I know that they're not, but most of them are quite shy and elusive. But there are some aggressive ones. So I don't think all of them would be a Harry. Some of them you wouldn't want in your house.
There has been talk of paranormal communities, Bigfoot communities, and like the Viscount's asking there, do you think that they have them, and that those that are being spotted are just like out spotting, so to speak?
I certainly think that they have social groups. I mean, when and I've seen evidence of that when I've come across what appears to be clan structures. I mean, some of it's supposition on my part. I haven't sat down and seen them socially interacting. But yes, I think that they have groups. I think that they have social structures that would be consistent with other primate behaviour. I mean, the orang's quite solitary, the orangutan, but most primates live in social groups with hierarchies. So it would be reasonable to extrapolate from that Bigfoot would do the same. But yes, I think that there are rogues, and particularly rogue males, and they would be the most aggressive of the lot.
Yeah. Well, what would you say during your exhibitions? What would you say was the best piece of evidence you have to date?
I think it depends. I think on the footprints, I'd cite the paper from China, where that was an international scientific paper, and the Beijing Museum of Natural History. So I think that was a great piece of evidence, and that was certainly a world first. I like the Sumatra stuff. We've come some good evidence of that in the past, and right now I'm almost a little bit excited about the evidence that's pending. Yeah. I certainly hope that something would come up about that, but I'm always cautious.
Is there somewhere you haven't been yet, and would want? And what would you be looking for?
I'm interested in going to South America, look for the giant sloth. I've always been interested in that. I'm interested in going to some of the remoter Pacific islands to explore hominid stories there as well. There's always places I want to go. It's always a question of time and money. That's always the thing with me. It's always like, what can I reasonably afford to do with the cash I've got? It's never enough.
I don't know. But if there was one cryptoid that you would like to find, what would it be?
It would be Bigfoot.
Bigfoot.
It would be Bigfoot, because that's the one I'm most fascinated in because of its intellect level. I would love to prove Bigfoot exists. And it's not about me proving it. There's no ego thing in fact. I don't mind if any of these things are proved by anybody who's doing this research. I really don't mind. I'd be delighted if I hear that somebody's proved one of things. Don't mind who it is. I'll be just so pleased. Pleased for them and pleased for us, because it's great news for all of us. I'll be delighted. But if you're asking me what I personally like to prove, I would personally like to prove Bigfoot.
And talking about Bigfoot, what would you think would happen if we did prove it and it become a mainstream animal? What would happen? Do you think, like the gorilla and the giraffe?
You got people going out hunting them, probably.
Well, the worry is that they would go out hunting them, and I think that's certainly true. What I would hope is, and I've discussed this with a couple of geneticists that I've been working with, I talked about it earlier. What I would hope is that things run positively, and it would prove to be the tipping point in terms of organising a concerted and considerable scientific body of research with really good academics from all different fields going together and properly studying it. That's what I would hope. Yeah? There's always going to be people with guns who go out and hunt things, but they've not been successful so far. No. So I don't see why they would be in the future. What I would hope is that really, if we narrowed it down to a specific locale, then that would be the project that was worked on in that area. And that was what I would hope. And that would have to be done with a lot of tenacity and a lot of privacy. Yeah. So we've talked about how that might work, and that's certainly possible. There would be, I know for a fact that if that happened, there would be a will to do that. I know that.
It's one thing you have to think about, isn't it? Because if you find these animals and you're basically intruding on their environment, aren't you? Really, and it's what they're, how they would react towards you, basically doing that. It's the same with like even UFOs. If we found an alien, we're going to grab it and experiment on it or something. But you've got to think of the animal itself, isn't it? At the end of the day, it's still an animal.
Well, that would absolutely, but that would be why I want a concerted, scientific, holistic approach rather than a couple of people in chem suits. But as I say, having spoken to people who are well known in the scientific community, then I am confident that would be produced, because there would be a will, and I've been assured that there would be a will to do that. In fact, I know that there would be a will to do that if we got the DNA. I'm not. It's not an opinion of mine. It's something that I feel confident enough to state with facts.
Yeah, I mean, from a personal point of view, I would hope they would be made a protected species straight away, at least until we know more about them.
I can tell you that they would be.
Yeah.
Sure. Again, I'm sure of that.
I mean, Sue said about them actually being an animal. Do you think they'd actually be classed as an animal?
Well, they'd be given a scientific name, and they'd be and that would be a classification in the same way that we would be animals in terms of species. They would also be protected. I think there'd be a lot of big questions, and there'd be a lot of big questions for government institutions, and for example, in America, there'd be a lot of big questions for wildlife and fisheries who would deal with that. The wildlife and fisheries are prepared for that.
Well, thanks a lot, Adam. It's been great talking to you.
No, it's right. It's my pleasure.
And we've really enjoyed the conversation.
I've enjoyed it too. It's lovely to speak to people.
Yeah, it's really good to have you back on the show again and a more in-depth conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully you will come back on and give us any updates or whatever.
Yeah, well, I can say with an absolute certainty that there'll be some interesting news released soon, which you will like. So I'll tell you about that when it happens.
Okay then, Adam. Well, thanks again, mate, and take care. And say one day you might just pop round the corner to us.
Yeah, well, I will. I'll have to do that. It's not far away. I'll have to do.
Okay, pop round for a coffee sometime.
Will do. Thank you.
All right, I'll speak to you soon. Take care.
See you later. Bye.
Bye, Adam.
Bye.
That was Adam Davies. What a lovely conversation that was, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's great. I enjoyed that.
I enjoyed that. You know, people, and I must admit, people go on and say, well, it's not ghost, it's not this, that, and the other. But there's more out there than we actually, know about.
It is. I mean, of course, until it's actually found or they come up with a body or something, it's still sort of cryptid, unknown.
Yeah.
Hence paranormal. But I'm personally getting to the point where I don't think Bigfoot is paranormal anymore.
Well, no, because if you think about John Downes, if you think about it, right, when it comes to cryptids, they don't feel as though they come under the paranormal banner.
No.
It's another science that that's a branch off of it, and they don't feel as though it comes under the paranormal regime.
Well, it's only paranormal because
it's unknown.
It's unknown at this point. I mean, they know it exists.
Yeah.
Because they're finding footprints
and
everything else.
Yeah.
But it's actually until they actually come up with DNA proof or an actual physical specimen. It still comes under the paranormal banner.
Oh, this is it.
I mean, I hate to say it, but I think, despite what Adam said, if the moment they prove that it exists, i.e., probably through DNA,
there'd be another duck hunt, stag hunt.
They would have. I mean, they would have to put protection in straight away. But I think the government itself will be able to trap one, so they could observe it close up.
Yeah.
And that would be a big mistake.
It would really, because, like I said, you're approaching on their environment.
Yeah, and not just that. You're talking about a creature that's wild and free.
Yeah.
And you're going to stick it in a cage.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just not right.
No, this is it.
Unfortunately, unless you can get their trust and actually be up with them, and like Fossey did with the mountain gorilla, unless you can get that kind of rapport with them, it's not going to happen.
No. So,
but there you go.
Well, that was tonight's special guest, and as I say, we really enjoyed that. What we're going to do now, we're going to get the events out of the way, and when we come back, we're going to tell you about last night.
Yeah, and please remind me to turn my mic back on.
Okay, I will do.
We've got all the news right here. Don't go away.
Fed up of wading through the activities and events that other advertisers include? Find just what you're looking for at paranormaleventsforyou.com, your one-stop paranormal directory. Well, first of all, on the 20th of September, we've got Daniel MacDonald. He's doing his psychic skills workshop and investigation practice at Fort Halstead in Chatham in Kent. On the 24th, there's a psychic supper at the BRSA Railway Club in Ashford, Kent, with various readers. On the 25th, there's the Club Zero Paranormal meeting at the Ladybridge Club in Stockport. And on the 26th, Charlton House, London, with Haunted Places Paranormal Investigations. On the 27th, Club Zero are at Hat Green Nuclear Bunker. And also on the 27th, Personal Paranormal are at Middleton Hall, Tamworth. For more details on these and other events happening, you can find out from paranormaleventsforyou.com. So check out the one-stop paranormal directory for more investigations and events available now. Paranormaleventsforyou.com also offers banner advertising for only £10 per year. See our website for more details. Paranormaleventsforyou.com, your one-stop paranormal directory. Yeah, well, that's the events for the rest of September. When I say the rest, God, we're nearly halfway through already, Steve. Have you got your mic back on?
Yes.
But aren't we? God, it's to be Christmas.
Go away!
I know, everyone's
enough
going
people
on about
saying
it.
about bloody Christmas.
Right, before we let you know about what happened last night at Pennyland Hall, a bit more about it, I just want to let you know, if you're into UFOs and stuff like that, there's a new book that's come out by Peter Robbins, and it's called The Deliberate Deception. And it's a case for disinformation in the UFO research community. Now, the book can be downloaded free in PDF format in 7 parts from Phenomena Magazine. And I'll just put the link here for you. But if you'd like to go to Phenomena Magazine, you will find that's phenomenamagazine.co.uk, and look at the downloads, which will be under back issues. You will find it there. It's, as I say, it is free, and could be quite enlightening. I might ask Steve Merrill a little bit more about it next week, because he's on the show. He's going to join us while we talk to a young man by the name of James Rink. In the words of Shakespeare, Hamlet to be precise, there are more things in heaven and earth, Horatio, than are dreamt in your philosophy. And if you're wondering what I'm on about, according to James Rink, he proclaims to be a super soldier, a MELAB, which is actually a military, which actually stands for military abductions. Usually means joint military and alien abductions. The MELAB program is basically just a super warrior program, and he claims to have been used. This has been used against his own will for military combat. He says he has been subjected to ritualized trauma, monarch programming, and human cloning connected to military abductions and alien mind control. He is also the foremost researcher on the altered soldier phenomena and related topics, as well as an expert in hypnosis. Is there an expert? Memory recall, therapy for other soldiers and experiences, abductees alike, and an expert on exotic technology and alternative history. So that could be an interesting subject, and I'm getting Steve Merrin to come in and give me a hand.
I'm getting Steve Merrin to sit there and do the show. I'm going in the other room.
Should we watch X Factor instead? It should be quite interesting, actually.
I'm going to watch Universal Soldier to get some questions.
So,
because at the moment that's going right over the top.
Well, it is. It's the first time I've heard of it, and so as I say, it could be quite interesting. We hear a lot about these things, about abductions and stuff like that, and we hear about her. We hear about cloning and stuff.
We're doing a lot of that tonight, aren't
we? And a lot of we have actually heard of this, like Total Recall stuff before, in a minimum thing, though, haven't we? You know, there's supposed to be these things out there, this total recall stuff. And, you know, he basically says to me that it's all about, like, cyborg and things. But we're going to find out more about that anyway next week. So I won't repeat what Andy707 just put on the chat room.
Well, he kind of has a point. I mean,
it does make you think.
When people or the powers that be are actually playing with your mind, it can turn you that way.
It can turn you a bit psychotic. But then again, Total People was used
and tried in the 1940s.
1940s, says the Viscount. See, this is the thing, yeah. We get people on the show, and sometimes their topic is way out there, that it does sound unbelievable, doesn't it?
It does.
You know, it's the same with mediums. You know what I mean? Mediums suggest that, you know, they're hearing voices, they're seeing apparitions and stuff like that. So it's like them, really. You look at them and think, you know,
schizophrenic.
Precisely. You know what I mean?
I have voices in my head telling me things.
You know, and they, you know, some people, if a skeptic mind would say, you know, you think you speak to dead people. No, you're not. You know, you're imagining things. You know what I mean? So, it's just so much stuff out there. You know, people have got these beliefs, and we've got to accept them.
We're tuning into the universal nature that is.
Yes, and not actually accept them. But
did you like that?
Yeah, but accept the fact that, you know what I mean, that they believe in this sort of thing. You know, do you want to repeat what you just said?
Why did everybody not hear it?
Go on, just in case.
Tuning into the universal nature that is.
Yes. So basically, oh God, Ghost Rider's just decided to come back.
He's been listening.
He has been listening. So that's what we've got next week. So I hope you'll join us for that. Okay, but on to what happened last night. Now, last night we was at Pennyland Hall. It's the first time we've ever done it, isn't it, Steve?
It was, yes.
Okay, and it's a Grade 2 listed Regency Gothic building located near the village of Roeburn, which stands alone, surrounded by extensive parklands situated at the head of the Bucolic Valley, if I've pronounced that right. In the centre of its 500-acre estate, which straddles the English-Welsh border. It was originally a brick house with basement and pitched roof, built. It is thought.
You're being corrected. It can't be Regency and Gothic at the same time.
Pardon? I'm just reading what it says. I didn't say Gothic. Where did Gothic come into it? Did I say? Oh, yes, I did.
You did.
Oh, well, it's just what it says. It's about 1687.
Well, I suppose it's Gothic to the extent that it does have turrets. What do you call them?
I'll tell you in a minute.
The stuff on top of the wall.
Castellated. It's castellated.
That's the one.
Yes. Right. Originally a brick house with basement and pitched roof, built, it is thought, in about 1687 by one of the founders of Lloyd's Bank. Though as Quakers, they suffered extreme persecution in Wales and moved to Birmingham in 1689, where the house became just a rural retreat from the family's main homes in and around Birmingham. During the 18th century, Pennyland belonged to the Lloyds family, and in 1830 the house was rendered, castellated, and given new windows, doors, and a flat roof, thus turning it into a Regency villa. By 1837, a park was added, and then it was later sold in 1854 to the Ormrod family. Since then, it's been passed down through the generations to the current owner, Emma Holloway, who's still retaining its original character. It says here it's a highly atmospheric and rather spooky 17th century castellated mansion, which is said to be one of the most haunted places in Britain. Many paranormal researchers have investigated this beautiful building and have certainly not been disappointed. We had access to many of the areas, including the old servants' rooms, cellar, stables, the old coach buildings, and the ground itself. Various ghostly goings-on have been reported, including an apparition by one group. So this was our chance to encourage the spirits to work with us. Now, we arrived there, didn't we, Stephen? It is a nice place. Perhaps you can help me on some of this.
When you look at the house, it's square.
Yeah.
It's a big square house.
Yeah.
The Victorians added a large part to it.
Yeah.
Which is no longer there. That's gone. Although out the back you can still see the floor tiles from that era.
There is a Roman road that actually runs through the estate.
There is. It's supposed to run through part of the house at one point, but she's not sure about that at the present time. You got the stables and everything out the back. We didn't get a lot spirit-wise, as in from a mediumistic point of view, but we did. But we did have the K2s and the REM pod and the Geist meter. They were all going nuts, and they were going nuts in response to questions. So that was very good. One interesting bit for me, because I wasn't actually with the group when it was going nuts upstairs. I was with another group at the time. When we went out to the stables, they were in one part, and I decided to go down to the other part on my own. And I was in there for a while and just talking, and I put the K2 down and put the temperature thing out and try and get them to top the temperature. I can't say that was too significant, considering it's we're outside and it wasn't particularly warm, wasn't particularly cold either. But and we went from 13.8 to 12, so
it wasn't
on a drop.
Yeah.
But so it wasn't massive.
No.
But while I was doing that, at the corner of my eye, I saw what I call a spirit light.
Okay.
Now, it went right across the back wall.
Yeah.
Now, from where we know there was no traffic. Well, we know we're near the road.
No.
And we know that none of the cars that was hit there went out or came back in.
Yeah.
So we know it wasn't a vehicle. Now, that's for me personally. That's two in less than 3 weeks.
Yeah.
I've seen. But when Andy came in with the rest of the people, I said to him that I'd seen the spirit light there, and you should stick somebody down there by that wall, by the back wall. And they put them down there with the Geist meter.
Yeah.
And on the lower end of it, it went absolutely crackers.
Did it?
It went nuts.
Yeah.
Completely nuts. And it was stopping, and you'd ask a question like, "Are you a child?" and it would go nuts again.
Yeah.
So it was responding to questions. And Andy would stand there and say, "Well, can you move away from it now, please?" And it would stop. And then you'd ask a question, and it'd go nuts again. And that was at one end. At the other end of the same part of the barn, the K2s were going off.
Yeah.
And it was quite musical, to be honest, because you had the Geist meter being held at the lower end, the spectrum going nuts at that end.
Yeah. And
at the other end, we had what I call the noisy cricket. It was the K2 with a clicking.
Yeah.
But it was going like. I was thinking we're in a stable and you sounded like horses, and it ended up being. I mean, at one point, it even sounded like it was trying to tell us a song, but that's just the way it was going off. And from that point of view, it was really good.
Yeah, we had 20 people with us last night, and unfortunately, 5 of them decided they were going to leave early.
No, 4.
4 was it?
4.
Sorry, 4 decided they were going to leave early. Now, I'll be truthful with you. When they arrived, on a couple of them, I could smell what I don't drink, so I could smell a bit of alcohol. And we do have a policy about no alcohol, but because of the amount of people that were there, in this particular group, I was a little bit wary myself of actually, sort of instigating this rule, but I did mention it in the talk, didn't I, at the beginning?
You did.
I said like that you've just signed a contract to say that you've not drunk any alcohol, you've not taken any drugs, blah blah blah.
And we was in somebody's somebody's home.
And the thing was,
it is a residential house.
Yes, but as I was saying, and after the first vigil, they decided to leave, but they were so negative that it seemed to put a dampener on the whole evening. We had a few bits happening in the first part of the evening, but on the latter part, it seemed to have died down, didn't it?
At 1 o'clock, it went completely dead. To answer Viscount's question there, he says, what do we think was the cause of this and for what reason? We in that area there's no power.
Oh.
So we know it wasn't power doing it.
Yeah.
I had a radio on me, but that wasn't going off.
No.
That wasn't being used. So at the present time, we can only assume that spirit was responsible for it.
Yeah.
Because it was responding to questions.
Mm. Well, when we was in our group,
but obviously we have no proof of that. We can only say, well, we asked the question, it went off. We asked another question, it went off again.
Yeah.
Or didn't go off for like a no answer kind of thing. But that's the only thing we can assume.
When we was in our groups, we split up some of them, and basically,
yeah. Can I just ask this? The clicking was on. It's a K2. It has a noise device on it, so not only does it have the lights, but it clicks as well.
And was it on Yeses?
Yes.
Yeah. So basically, what it is, we was in our group, and we had a bit of a quiet time to begin with down in the cellar. But then I decided to split some of them up and let them go into an area on their own with some gadgets, and they weren't far away, sort of thing. They were sort of like in that room, and we was in this room.
Yeah, you could hear them.
Yeah, and they said they were getting some responses, and from the K2. They didn't really go into what they were getting, but they said it was really good.
Really good. Really good. Yes.
And the thing is, we went upstairs into the old servants' quarters, and I again put people into different rooms, and they were getting some good reactions. I didn't get any of the gadgets go off at all myself. When we was in the music room, as I like to call it, or the parlour of the music room, there was some knockings every so often, and they seemed to be towards our questioning. But when I went back in there later with just 3 other people, there was no knocking. So I'm not sure whether, because we did have 4 over enthusiastic guests.
Yeah, you had a couple of people that wasn't mediums when they started.
No, so
they seemed to be afterwards.
Yeah,
I mean, in that room that you're talking about, I picked up on a army officer.
That was in the music room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was dressed like in the First World War. Knee-length boots, breeches, and the old khaki jacket with the old belt and cross thing.
Okay.
And the name Frederick.
Yeah.
And we asked Emma at the end of the night, and at first she said no, and then she went, "Oh yes, Uncle Fred."
But she never met him.
But yeah, he died before she met him. And she also gave us a possible explanation
for the stable,
for what was happening in the stables. Apparently, somebody had supposed to have committed suicide in there.
Hang themselves.
They hung themselves in the stable. So that was a possible explanation for what we was getting. But obviously, we didn't know this until the end of the night.
Yeah. So. But on the night on the whole, there was a bit of a dampener put on it because of the negativity of those originally. But I just want to put something to you guys, okay? Now, obviously, as paranormal investigators, you've probably done it yourself, where we've gone to private investigations to help out people who say that they're getting investigated, they're getting paranormal activity in their house. Now, when we go on to public investigations, bring the public with us, blah, 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 we're going into museums and halls and stuff like that. Now, the thing is, I'm not sure what my problem is for last night. Now, I don't know whether it's a case of I felt negative in myself or whether I just was feeling unsure.
It's unusual for you to be negative.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say negative was the word, but I'll tell you what my problem
You're a bit
was.
reserved.
Yeah, reserved. I'll tell you what my problem was, to be honest with you. When we do private investigations, obviously we don't do too much in the way of investigating because we're basically looking for wheres and wherefores, and then at the end of the day we try to dispel anything that's happening. We were in a place that is being used as a house. Okay,
It's
this is
home.
Emma's home, and when we talk about we've gone into the servants' quarters, yes, they were the service quarters, but when her sons come home, that's where they sleep. Yeah, and so technically we're in people's bedrooms. Yeah, and we're bringing the public into this area. And I'm not sure how I'm supposed to feel. You know what I mean? On one side of me is thinking maybe this is not right, and the other side is thinking, and I'm not sure whether I'm right or not. Feeling the way I do.
I can understand you being a bit reserved, but at the end of the day,
Cautious, I suppose, is another word.
At the end of the day, Emma has opened up her home to allow us to do this.
Yeah, I know.
So she
let other people in,
Yeah,
and she needs the money.
She does. She badly needs the money.
Yeah.
The house needs a hell of a lot of work doing to it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, through one thing and another, she has a lot of financial problems, which is a great shame. Another thing to add was when we was in when Andy was up on the top floor in what at one point would have been the servants' quarters. They had the M2 going, and they were getting stuff off of that, and they were getting stuff off the REM pod. But they asked if the bedrooms were still being used. And it came back straight away. Sometimes.
Yeah.
Now, I know the reason for this because her son's room is up there and he brings his friends back every now and again. So, yeah, sometimes they are used, but they're used for so they're not used all the time. And he twice last night, he got direct response from the M2 immediately, not a gap and then going sometimes. It was like, are these being used? Sometimes it was straight away. So that was quite interesting.
So, but Viscount's asking, does the children experience anything in the staff quarters? I'm not quite sure, actually.
She never mentioned anything that her children have picked up.
She's always mentioned that as a child she's seen a lot of things.
Yeah,
when she's lived there.
Yeah.
So whether she still
because she spent a lot of her time in Africa, didn't she, when she was younger as well.
But this is the thing, I'm not sure. I'd like to go back, but then again, do I want to go back? I know she needs the money, so, and that's the thing about our group, we try and help people in that respect. So, but I'm in a bit of a catch-22. How would you feel, guys? If this woman, most groups are doing it. It's at Penny Land.
It's
just outside
it's going towards Wrexham.
Yeah.
Andy said
he'd go back. So, but I was going to ask that, Andy. So yeah. As I say, it's in a place called Rubon, or Ruabon. It's just outside. It's a little village outside. Well, Penny Land really. There's a village outside Wrexham.
Yeah, it's off-putting trying to find it as well because you're on the sat nav. You see the sign. It tells you to turn. you see the sign for Pennyland. From where we was, we turn right, go down towards Pennyland. We pass the church, and it goes, "You have arrived."
Yeah.
And we go, "No, we haven't." So we keep going, and you're going through this one track road, and you think, "Am I right here? Should I go back?"
Yeah.
Then you get to the bottom of it, and you've got a cattle grid one side and a lane going up to the farm on the other. So you have to go across the cattle grid. The first time we went, the whole area was covered in sheep, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So you go up there, and then you've got another farmhouse down on the side there, which I assume is they do the land that Emma probably rents the land out to them, which and I know they do weddings in there outside and stuff like that. So you go up, and then you got another cattle grid when you actually get to the house. So it is quite secluded there.
On Historic Houses Association, Andy, it does actually say that it's an architecturally distinguished Tudor Gothic revival house of the 1830s, which retains much of its original character, both internally and externally. So that's where the Gothic comes into it, I think. But yeah.
And it is a really strange mixture because it.
So did I actually, Andy.
So because it has that Georgian size to it.
Mm.
You know what I mean? A lot of the old Georgian houses like that were square with big rooms and stuff like that. And which is what it is downstairs, isn't it? It's really big rooms.
I don't know where I got this right up from, actually.
And then you go upstairs and they're all small.
But it's just based. I think I actually got it from the British listed buildings place. To be honest with you, it says here on the pictures that I've got here, built overlooking the River Dee, dated 17th century. This land estate has been associated with the Lloyd, Kenyon, Hardcastle and Omrud families at various points in its history and comprised of land on both sides of the River Dee in the parishes of Roebon, Urbistock, St Martins and Ellesmere. The other picture says remodelled in 1830 in the Tudor Gothic revival style when the stucco and castellation was added.
Stucco, yeah.
Stucco. It was again enlarged and altered in the late 1900s, but much of this was demolished in the 50s. Major James Omrud added a school and a church to the Penlan estate in the late 1800s for the benefit of the tenants on the estate. In 1968, the schools of Penlan and Urbistock closed when pupils transferred to the school at Iton. So that's a bit about that. But
and they are no longer there.
No, so
unless the church you pass on the way in was the actual church. There is a nice little church as you pass on that main road there.
Yeah, well, this is it. There is a nice little church there, but as I say, it is a nice house.
I think it's worth another go.
Yeah, when you actually walk around it in some areas, it is a bit cluttered in it and lived in.
It is because she's got all the pictures and stuff and everything else around the house.
You walk into the what I call the music room, parlour sort of thing. There's a big grand piano in there, and you've literally, if you can imagine, in the old days, in the old pictures where they've got picture frames all over the top of the piano, and she's got this big book.
It's massive, that book.
Do you know what's in that?
No, I didn't look.
We had a look, and they are actually prints in the book, and they've got of areas and not of the place, but certain areas in the world and that. And then there's a big book which has got the big wonders of the world in, but most of them are Tudor prints or something. Turner prints. And yeah, and it's a really old book that sits there on the table. And we opened it up very carefully.
It's actually the size of the table.
Yeah, and we opened it up very carefully. And obviously on the prints, you've got like that thin layered paper covering the print up.
Well, you guys can probably see my desk.
And it was about as big as that.
It wouldn't sit on my desk.
No.
My desk isn't big enough.
No.
That's a really big book.
She could make a fair bit offering it up. for location shooting. She does.
They do.
Funny enough,
They do weddings and they do shoots, don't they?
yeah, where we had our hub out in the courtyard, the room that was there, it's actually for the shooters.
It's a gun
isn't it?
room.
It's a gun room.
They call it the gun room. There's no
Yeah.
actual guns in it, but
So but yeah, I think I'll go there more in the summer next time. I think because then with the lighter nights, and maybe we could do something on the Roman road or something, or on the grounds itself.
yeah, you have to find the road first.
Well, she knows where it is.
She knows. Excuse me, roughly where it starts. It starts down in the valley down where her mum lives.
Mm.
Down the cottage down by the River Dee.
Yeah.
Comes up from there. So that'd be also awkward to find out there, I think. And also you have to worry about the animals roaming around.
Oh, I know what shooting he's on about now. He's on about location shooting.
Like for films and
Films
stuff.
and stuff, But it was actually a topic for a program on Channel 4. Let me just find it.
Yeah.
She says.
Yeah. Why are you looking for that? I know they do weddings because they put marquees and everything up on the grounds, don't they?
Yeah. So because it's obviously not in the house. It was actually a project on country house rescue. It wasn't it. It was a series 3.
Yeah. I mean, there are areas in the house you go and you look up and the ceiling's all cracked, big cracks in it.
Mm.
One of the bedrooms upstairs on the top floor, which is actually in the roof, was the old servants' quarters. You got all the paint and that's just crumbling off the roof and falling on the bed.
So
can you imagine laying there and it's just this piece of dry crumbling paint just falls off and hits you in the head?
Oh God,
make you jump. Wouldn't it?
Definitely, but yeah, I'm just trying to find it, but I'm not finding it at the moment. I was actually talking to one of the guys that came on our investigation last night, and we was talking to him about where he'd been and this, that, and the other, and he actually said he'd been to Plasteg, and I thought I didn't think they did it anymore.
Plasteg, no, I think it's stopped.
No, he said it hasn't.
The Viscount should know that one.
But anyway,
he knows that area. Been there, I'm sure he has. Mind you, so has Andy, haven't you? Andy, have you ever been to Plasteg?
So, but as I say, on the series, the woman that did the series suggested that she looked into 2 business ventures: a pop-up restaurant to complement her sociability and cooking skills, and horse riding holidays to complement her equestrian interest. On Ruth's return, whoever this Ruth is, very little had happened. Ruth sits the family down for a head-to-head where she confronts Emma and her children that enough is not being done, and that then Emma suggests her own ideas: residential art classes. So just trying to get money and what have you, and just to get funds, because from what it says here that we obviously know about the founders. It was bought by the Holloway family in 1849, and the house has been passed down for generations. Emma Holloway grew up in the house and has in turn brought up her 4 children there. To Emma, Pennyland is her life, but the house is also a noose around her neck. This is what they're saying. With £300,000 of debt, the house is in a shabby state, and without the income to do it up, the future looks bleak. So you can understand why she's doing it.
I mean, it's costing her thousands a year just to keep it as it is. That's without making the improvements and getting things back.
So, but as I say, it's. She apologised that we'd had a quiet night, but apparently last week it was fantastic.
It's not her fault, is it?
No, but she did actually say it might have been down to the negative vibes.
Yeah, I quite agree with that. I mean, I tell you what, it's a silly thing, but something I found interesting was, because of its age, it had picture rails, and I've never really known why they called it a picture rail.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until last night that I realised
What?
the actual pictures are hung from the picture rails.
Yes,
They actually have like little hooks on the picture rails and they're hanging down the wall.
that's right. Yeah.
I didn't actually know why they called it a picture rail until last night. It just didn't click for some reason. Yeah, it's the picture rail, but why is it above? You know what I mean? I've always known it as a picture rail, but it never really.
My nan had one in her house.
It never actually made me think, well, why is it called a picture rail when it's right up there?
She had them all in downstairs, apart from the kitchen, obviously, in the dining room and the living room.
It's because he actually has just a hook the pictures, connections over them. And it's good to see that A, they're there, and B, they're being used properly.
Well, it just goes to show that last night, negativity or not, you just can't turn the paranormal on like a light switch.
No,
and you take your chance.
And some of us did get some stuff.
Yeah.
Not so much, like I said, from a mediumistic point of view, but we did have a lot of the gadgets working well last night.
And some of the guests in my group, they were feeling people touching them and stuff like that. So whether that was psychosomatic, if that's the right word.
I mean, I with the four that left, before they left, I did a human pendulum with them.
Yeah.
And despite them being negative, the guy couldn't believe the fact that he was actually working with him.
Yeah.
And so much so that he was starting to get cramp in his calves because he was stopping himself from going forward all the time.
Yeah.
So as a yes answer for the
But
question.
unfortunately, the skeptics would say that that's what would normally happen when you're standing on your feet.
Well,
I'll say that before Andy gets in.
Well, initially he was standing with his feet together, and you go, yep, you do that, you're going to topple one way or another. And one of the other guys there, he actually made a point of asking him that, and then told him to spread his feet like shoulder apart, and it still happened.
So, well, what we'll do is every time we go to a venue, we'll let you know how we got on, and even if we don't go to a venue, for instance, the Hanley Town Hall.
Yes.
We went there to have a look at Stoke-on-Trent, didn't we?
It's a lovely old building,
but you don't get a lot of it.
And it's not dear.
No.
It's really not dear. It's £40 an hour? Was it that one?
Yeah.
Or not, or somewhere around there. So it's not that particularly dear, but there's not enough of it.
No, this is
not enough of it from a investigator's point of view.
No.
I mean, you look at the building and you see it advertised, and you think, yeah, that's going to be great. But you get sort of 4 areas.
Yeah, you get the court.
You get the court and the cells.
The cells underneath the cellar.
You get the cellar area.
And the committee room.
And the committee room and stairs.
Yeah.
And that's your lot.
Yeah. So, but some people have booked it. We're wondering whether it's worth booking it.
Personally, I would say no, but I'd be interested to hear what happened to them.
Yeah.
Hear what they got and what they didn't get.
So,
because it is supposed to be quite an active area, especially the stairs and that. So.
And we went to have a look at the Barlow Institute.
Yes, the Barlow's a funny place. It's the complete rabbit warren.
Yes.
It's
a nice place.
It is a nice place.
Very old, and it's in Bolton.
It is in Bolton. It's one of them places that you hand over security and they give you the keys and they say goodbye, leave you to it.
Yeah, when you book, you give them a deposit, which is I think, what did they say? I can't remember the percentage, but we paid £44, I think it was, or something. And then on the night you give them £100 security check, and you either get that back after the event, or if you've been done any damages, obviously they keep it.
Yeah, so they either give it back or shred it.
Yeah, and it's a lovely building, isn't it?
It is a lovely
building. With the exception of
there's lots of areas,
1 or 2 rooms, one including the office.
Yeah.
The rest of it, you get. And it's got a nice car park at the back, so that's not a problem. And it's near Taunton, to be honest with you, near the village of Taunton.
Yes, Taunton area, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's not actually in the main town.
Yeah. When was it actually built? Because you've got a little bit of information there, because the Viscount said he's never heard of that one.
Nor have I till recently. Let me see. Is it thebarlow.co.uk? Right. It's actually in Edgeworth. let me see the history. Was opened on the 30th of October 1909. The Barlow Institute in Edgeworth was officially opened in an atmosphere of great celebration and communal pride. It was built by the children of James and Alice Barlow, more notably Sir Thomas Barlow, 1885 to 1945. So it's...
Yeah, what was its original use?
I'm just about to find that out.
Because I know now it's run by volunteers, isn't it?
I'll give you the link so you can have
it's
a look.
more a community-centred kind of thing now.
Let me see, where are we? I did find out somewhere. Barlow.
No, definitely not Thelma and Ken Barlow.
Let me just find this. Right, let's see what this says. It doesn't. It says it, and then it didn't say it. That's not nice. That's not nice.
Yeah,
I clicked on it.
I think it was. I think it was more of a school, wasn't it, when it started? Initially.
I don't know. It just said it on the Google bit, and when I clicked into it, it wasn't there. Right, it's actually classed as North Taunton, or Turton. Built by St. Thomas Barlow and his brothers in 1909 in memory of their parents. It has a it had a recreational and cricket field. And, it has. Right, the grounds themselves are...
Yeah, no, it's got a bowling green out the back.
Yeah. It was completed in 1909 and catered for a wide variety of pastimes. The large hall supported an operatic society, dancing, both old and modern times, film shows, silent, wedding receptions, birthdays, etc. Whilst part of the hall under the balcony and alongside was fitted with gymnastic equipment. In the basement was slipper baths, as in those days few houses had a bathroom you could hire and a towel. At a bathroom, and you could hire a towel for 1 penny, or bring your own.
So it's always been a bit of a community centre.
Also in the basement was a well-equipped laundry, which was very well used by the women folk of the village. There was also facilities for cooking for the girls and woodwork for the boys. So it's a bit of a school as well. Very popular in the winter months. It had a billiard room upstairs with 2 full-size tables, the library where you could borrow books from, and next door to the library was the committee room. It's one of these old little places that you can find out and about somewhere. You know what I mean? The unknown places. And again, it's a place that needs money for upkeep.
Yeah, because it is completely volunteered now. There's a school area for young kids use, and they call the messy room.
Yeah,
and all that sort of stuff. There's a lovely big stage in the main hall there, isn't there? And then you've got the committee room and upstairs with a big table, which will definitely get some use.
So basically, with these smaller venues, being not for profit, we do try and help them out, don't we?
We do. I mean that
you can get your big places like Craig and Oss.
Mind you, having said that,
Blodderwilling Castle.
It's still quite a big building because of its the way it's set up. Like I say, it's like a bit of a rabbit warren.
Yeah.
But I mean, I suppose a way of saying it is we try and pay it forward. So we try and find places that don't get any help and need money for the upkeep to keep it going.
Yeah.
So, and if it's got any kind of hauntings to it or paranormal history, the more the better.
Yeah, it all goes towards research, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, even if it doesn't have any noted history, we'll still go and give it a go and see if we can find anything. Because at the end of the day, it's been used. In this case, it's been used for hundreds of years, 100 years or so, and you've got essence of people that's been in and out of the building. You've got people that love the building that come back and visit, and you're always going to get something. It may not be the big bumps and bangs and everything else and show loads of paranormal activity, but if you don't try these places, you just do not know.
No, this is it.
You could just see you can go into in one of these places that's got no history of it and find a little gem.
Yeah, and just for Andy and the Viscount's knowledge, Craigenars is some castle that's somewhere in the South Wales that I'm yet to go down and have a look.
Yeah, somewhere down there in Wales.
Because we're thinking of maybe booking it, but I want to go and have a look at it first to see what you get for the money.
Yeah. There's this guy down there. I just want to.
I don't want to see what he's like.
Be cheeky with him.
Yeah, this is it. So.
Some Irishman.
You've been to it, have you, Andy? I'm yet to have a look, so I might pop down there one day. You never know, and take the dog for a ride.
Yeah, we just give him a text and say, "No, you're there. We're outside."
Yeah, put kettle on.
Put kettle on.
I don't know. So yeah, that might be something worth doing. But it's somewhere that the team are considering doing next year and putting it out to the public and see what happens. We have got some people that have come back and said they're interested.
Yes, we have people say they're interested.
So
most of the team are saying, "Yep, we want to do that."
So that could be a goer for next year. That could be our Bran Castle without the flight. Couldn't it?
Can we have the weather though?
We will have to see.
The weather when we went to Brown was absolutely gorgeous.
The only thing is, I'm not spending a week in Wales.
No, I still like the weather.
Yeah, well, this is it. Well, I'm afraid that's about it for tonight, guys. We've waffled on enough. As I said, don't forget next week we have. We are talking about.
And he said we need a passport in Wales. Not yet. We might want to go to Scotland soon, but not Wales at the moment.
Yeah, I'm a bit worried about that because my son's in Scotland, and how the hell are we going to come, visit each other? But anyway,
just keep the passport going.
Yeah. So, because that's what you were saying about Wales, wasn't it? If Scotland get their way,
if Scotland go.
Then Wales might try and follow suit.
Yeah.
So that's what we think. But we'll see what happens.
Although I don't think it financially it'd be worth Wales doing it.
No.
Because Wales as a country on its own at the present time is not in a good state.
Think about all that beautiful countryside and castles we'll lose.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Loads of it.
Yeah.
But it's like I say, it's financially Wales is not in a good place. Scotland to a point has oil and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Whereas Wales doesn't. It doesn't have
But anyway, we're going to call it a day. I've got to put this show onto YouTube, so I hope YouTubers will enjoy it. And don't forget, as I say, next week we will be talking to James Rink about this super soldier thing, and Steve Merritt will be in the building as well. So we hope you've enjoyed this evening, and we look forward to having your company again next Sunday at 8 p.m. on the KTPF Community Talk Show, which is www.ktpf.co.uk. Thank you for listening to the KTPF Community Talk Show, recommended by Phenomena Magazine, the UK's leading online publication, and sponsored by Steve.
It is sponsored by the Craigenars Castle, South Wales, one of the most haunted castles in Wales. For more information on ghostly and ghastly events, including fright nights, all-night investigations, and hen parties, visit www.mosthauntedcastle.com.
This is where it's at.
Go on.
I was still talking. And while you're there, say a big hello to Paranormal World, who will be running your investigations for you.
Yeah. So, well, they could be, unless you're doing it yourself.
Yes, unless it's something like us who goes down, in which case we'll just have a representative from them.
Yes. So, this is it. Right. So until next time, all that's left to say is keep the paranormal friendly. Good night and God bless.
Good night, guys. Have a good night.
To see in the night, to measure the spike, to see how cold it's been. I buy my kit so I won't forget the ghosties that I have seen. The Paranormal Intelligence Gathering Services Ghost Store. So visit www.the-pigs.co.uk/ Ghost Store